Please rise for invocation by Pastor Ken Sharp of High Point Pentecostal Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Mr. Mayor. Let's pray. Lord, I love you today. Thank you for this wonderful day that you've given us. Thank you for a beautiful sunrise that we got to see this morning, breath, strength in our bodies. We thank you for every blessing that you've given to each and every one of us. And Lord, we're most thankful for our freedom that we have today. And Lord, I ask that you would come into this room right now and strengthen each person. Whatever decision, whatever thing may be made today, God, I ask that your mercy would be upon us. Let your grace give us wisdom and understanding, that we can understand and live peaceably with every man. Give us strength, I pray, in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pastor, thanks for the invite. I'm going to do my best to get there someday, brother.
And clerk, call the roll.
Councilman Ford.
Here.
Councilman Tremont.
Here.
Councilman Bastian.
Here.
Vice Mayor Stiltner.
Here.
Mayor Burnett.
Here. Consent agenda, public comments on consent agenda items only. Those are items 6 through 10 on, or I'm sorry, 6 through 9 on the agenda. If anybody would like to comment on those, now is the time. There being none. Item 5, agenda approval.
Move to approve consent agenda items?
6 through 9.
Yes.
We have a motion, we have a second. With resolution there, please call the roll.
Councilman Ford.
Yes.
Councilman Tremont.
Yes.
Councilman Bastian.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stiltner.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, 5-0. Citizen participation non-agenda.
I have none, but Edith Shelley she's filling one in. Out.
Tell her, come on.
Edith.
You're up.
We're too fast for you, Edith.
You
No,
can
no,
come on
you're
up and
fine.
fill out the form after the fact.
You're good.
I just wanted to let you know, Edith Shelley, and I'm not here on behalf of Halifax Health for this comment. I'm here on behalf of the Volusia County Sheriff's Foundation and two local businesses, Peach Valley and Hollow Point Beef Jerky. And on October 27th, we had a pancake eating challenge with very spicy beef jerky in the pancakes. In order to be in the pancake eating challenge, you had to have this spicy beef jerky in your pancakes. And I just wanted to let you know that the overall winners, here it is. Okay.
I'm hoping you got samples.
I'll bring you some. But the overall winners we did it at all 3 Peach Valleys. And they all tied, and they were overall, and they were here at Port Orange Peach Valley, and they were 3 members of Daytona's Finest. I only have first names because we didn't want to release their last names because of this amazing challenge and what they did. But they are all the Alpha Shift. It was Ben, Cameron, and Doug. Big guys. Really big guys too. I've never seen, these were big comps. So they were there, and one of them was so funny. His face was so red and the sweat was coming off. That's how hot they were. But anyway, I just wanted to let you know that Port Orange, 3 police officers won the challenge.
How many pancakes?
They each ate 8. That's how hot they were. They had the ghost peppers in them.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Have it right here at Peach Valley Cafe.
Peach Valley, right here. We did it at all 3, and the one here had the highest. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thanks,
Have a good
Edith.
night.
They'll learn when they get older.
Nobody will top it tonight.
Or as we speak, they're learning.
Awesome.
I noticed they're not here.
That's it, Robin?
That's it.
All right. Council comments. Why don't we start this end, Chase?
I have nothing tonight. We're going for the world record.
Oh, Bob?
The same.
Okay. Scott?
I guess I'm going to bring something up. I'd like to suggest that we extend, and maybe Jake can do this on behalf of council if council is inclined. I'd like to extend an invitation to someone from the school board to send a representative to a council meeting in the future, maybe even after the holidays is fine.
I'm getting a lot of feedback and discussion in our community about concerns and interest in what's going on collectively with the schools. You know, we've got 10 public schools in the city of Port Orange. There's some concern that the grading levels, and I might not be using that correctly, but the way they rate the schools on an A, B, C, D, or F rating, that's dropped.
Mostly C right now.
Yeah, that's dropped quite a bit from what we're accustomed to in the city, or at least I know what they were 4 or 5 years ago. So that's one thing. Maybe they could give us some insight and have a little discussion on, and kind of help us better understand that. And then the other thing would be the capacity of the schools, and what the plan is for either the building future schools to accommodate growth, or how they're going to manage those things. A lot of the schools, I think, have been pretty well inundated and saturated with portables to try to keep pace. But I think even that's going to eventually have its limitations. So anyway, maybe just a state of the schools for Port Orange, what's going on, what's on the horizon, what can we expect, and maybe to talk to some of those things. And then what I would ask is that individually, if any council members have specific concerns that maybe we would like for them to touch upon, if they are inclined to come and meet with us, that we could email those to them and say, hey, can you touch on this? This is what I'm hearing, or what residents are asking. And it may be a little bit unusual and unique, but the fact that we have 10 schools, and that's such a huge part of who we are as a community, I just think it'd be a great thing that periodically someone from the school board be invited to come and meet with us and talk and share what's going on, and give us a little bit of good news for the future and how things are going in the school system. Because obviously we because of scheduling and everything else, it's kind of tough to make it to a lot of their meetings. I think it would be easier to have a representative selected by them to come and kind of share that with us, whether it's an elected official or somebody from administration.
Might have to be on a workshop night, because generally they meet the same day and time as us.
Yep.
But certainly I think it'd be nice to invite the superintendent.
Superintendent comes back.
We have 2 elected officials from the school board that basically were split, so we could, like, if one or the other.
Sure.
And maybe we can agree to talk, and then.
You don't have a round table before that, do we?
We have a round table next week.
So I'll hit up, if you and I both hit up Tom and Linda, we'll get somebody for the second meeting in January. It gives you guys enough time to get some questions, gives them some time to
Get some answers.
get some answers. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So
Yeah,
we'll Robin, we'll tentatively set that for the second meeting in January, and the
That'd be
mayor
great.
and I'll hit them up a couple times with
Great.
the invite.
Great.
I'll just comment on a word of support. I think it's a great idea. Talk about all the massive things that are a draw to people moving into Port Orange. Schools at the top of the list.
Yeah.
So, you always get kind of concerned about crossing jurisdictional boundaries and what their job is, but the fact is, our job is to be active for our citizens, so
And
that's a
even-
great call, Scott.
And just something to build upon that, Chase, even if you don't have kids in our schools, good schools affect everybody's home values. So that's just something to think about.
Yeah.
Anything else?
That's it.
Drew?
Just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. We won't meet again until December, so that, and a few people have asked me, and I've seen it on social media, when is First Watch opening? They're open. They're open for business, so First Watch is open.
All right. The only thing I had, Jake, first of all, I wanted to thank Parks and Rec for doing a fantastic job, as always, with the Veterans Day ceremony yesterday.
Sorry to have missed that.
It's amazing how quickly and efficiently they set up for that, and how quickly they break it down, particularly in the face of the rainstorms moving in. So once again, thank you. I want to thank them for a job well done, and something that, in keeping in mind with the fact that it was Veterans Day, I wanted to not only acknowledge all our veterans, and we've got a ton of them in the city of Port Orange. Just a reminder, the casualty reports, we see how many people died, how many people were injured in battle and war fighting for this country. Those numbers do not include people that went over there and fought for us and lost a little bit of their humanity. And a few weeks ago I lost a friend. A lot of people know Jimmy Adams. Terrific guy. Eventually, the demons from this caught him, and there was a feature in Hometown News. I love the man dearly, and he'll be missed. Leaves behind a wife and 2 daughters, and I think that in honoring him, I think it's important for all of us to remember that a lot of that is going on everywhere in our own community, and if we see it, let's reach out. Sometimes it's the things you don't see too. Look for the little clues. You know, I use the word city and community interchangeably many times because we're more than just a city. The city's built on a lot of small communities, neighborhoods, businesses, and the like. And I think it's the duty of everybody in their community to look out for their neighbor, and this is part of it.
Good word.
Enough said about that. Board appointments, interviews, reports, Parks and Rec Advisory Board report. Mr. Jack Wiles.
Hello, everyone. Jack Wiles, Parks and Rec Board. Speaking of events that the city did a great job on, I'd like to point out the movie in the park at Riverwalk was terrific. We went up and watched Cars 3, I think it was.
Oh, cool.
Really nice. Had a good time, a good turnout.
Best thing I heard about that is we had parking problems, which means a lot of people showed up.
There was a lot of folks there, so it was really good. Everybody seemed to have a really good time. At our Parks and Rec meeting on 10/17, October 17th, we had an impressive 9 of 10 in attendance, which was good. Looks like our accountability measure is working. Our primary focus at the meeting was, as promised to council on September 25th at our joint workshop, was to address the pros and cons of the partnerships and determine what, if any, changes could be made to make it more equitable and beneficial for all concerned. We realize this is a topic of passion and conviction for many. However, we're a board and we're trying to make as many decisions and recommendations as possible based on facts and point out any inequities. So we also discussed the gym community center that's being proposed, draft of it. But co-sponsorship partners, in reviewing the numbers of associated costs and utilization of competitive teams or our partners, they occupy 37% of the available fields. This equates to about 1/3 of the city's budget for athletics and field maintenance, or $366,181 in partnership value. We're collecting from these partnership groups roughly $24,000 or 7% of that, including the reimbursement of partnership contributions. So if a partner has made a contribution, basically, for example, I'll give you an example of the Panthers, the concession stand. They're not paying an annual fee. We're reimbursing them by the charge of that annual fee every year. So if they're paying $4,000, then they're getting a $4,000 credit toward paying off that contribution. Same with Pop Warner football. And our recreation department is tasked with recovering 30% of associated cost for our rec program. So rec is 30%, partnerships are paying 7%. Seems to be an obvious imbalance in cost recovery between partners and residents in the rec program. The board is tasked with Parks and Rec program, and it is our responsibility to ensure all kids and adults in Port Orange have an opportunity to play and have fields to play on. While we support these groups in many cases, it is somewhat of a duplication of programs. We know we can do better with regard to scheduling, cost recovery. Some of our partners offer clinics for coaches, rec players, make the contributions they've made. And there are some of our partners that, of course, upgrade the facilities, and they're accounted for and reimbursed through an annual fee, as I mentioned earlier. These organizations range in city resident participation between 47 and 90%, with an average of 66%. The challenge with partnerships, they're increasing in numbers and are increasing their usage. This stresses our availability of rental time, reseeding, resting of fields, and playing time for our rec kids. It does not seem economically feasible or sustainable to continue down the path of subsidizing to this degree. It is inevitable that the recreational programs will continue to grow as more housing and apartments are built, as we know they will be. Then we'll be pressed into building more fields, and that's a good thing, but the program will need to be sustainable, and currently it's not. It would be hard to justify building new fields when 1/3 of the space is now available to us. You will likely need to be making some tough decisions on how to balance, I say you council, not us. We're making recommendations is all. You will likely need to be making some tough decisions on how to balance these partnerships. It is obvious these groups and others are generating income, and seems only reasonable they should be responsible to pay a graduated rate to exceed what's minimum for all recreational programs of the 30% or more. We, unlike many other cities, feel they add value to our community. A lot of cities won't allow these groups to come in. We think they certainly add value to what our community, for the children wanting to play at a higher level than our rec programs offer. It's reasonable to assist these residents who want to have an opportunity to get to the next level. However, we should consider all factors such as player participation, field availability, field wear and tear, lost revenue, staff time, field availability, as I mentioned, and the burden to taxpayers. Rental revenue has dropped from, based on available fields, has dropped from $85,000 in 2014 to $48,000 in 2018. And that's as a result of not having the fields to rent out. One simple solution would be to institute a lease arrangement. I'm giving you the problems. I'm going to try and give you a solution. The board is going to take this up again, but I just want to kind of walk you down the path. One simple solution would be to institute a lease arrangement in lieu of a partnership. This would reduce staff time of monitoring all of the requirements in our partnership agreement, such as participation rate, financial data, scheduling changes, and it would reduce our liability as a partner. It would assist the groups by doing what they do best, and that's coach and teach, by eliminating the restrictions and recovering a more equitable financial situation for the city to be able to continue allowing the teams to utilize the city fields. Otherwise, the whole competitive program appears to be in jeopardy in the near future as our rec programs grows and our budget gets more compressed, or conversely, our rec programs will need to be cut. I don't think any of us would be in favor of that prospect. We need to take action now to minimize the negative impacts on our Parks and Rec budget and our fields before it's too late for the sake of all concerned. The downside of going to a lease arrangement would be an increased cost for the partners under the lease arrangement and no partnership agreement. The upside for the competitive groups would be no longer required to maintain a minimum of 50% of players on the roster for Port Orange. No need for us to track that. No need to provide financial information. No longer required to have teams' name changed to include Port Orange. No need to supply background information on coaches. No agreement requiring a formal contract other than a lease arrangement. Continue to utilize fields as they are now for as many hours that are available. Current partners are given first choice of field time over groups. The upside for the city, that's the upside for the partners, the upside for the city would be to reduce the staff time managing and scheduling. There would be one schedule put out either monthly, quarterly, or however the department feels it needs to do it. Minimizing the city's liability with respect to coaches or players as a partner, reduces the city's time monitoring participation rates of each group, recover more than 7% of their cost, and the rec program, again, as I mentioned, is 30%. Currently, this program is challenging, and we need to come up with solutions. The rental agreement would be much easier for city staff to manage and would allow for sustainable programs. In summary, there are 7 partners: Pop Warner, Florida Elite, PAL, Panthers, baseball and softball, Tennis for Life, Port Orange Volleyball, and Stallions. The participation of rates is between 47 and 90 with an average of 66. Cost to run the program is $366,181 in terms of the 37% of the associated cost. They utilize 37% of the field time. We collect roughly $24,000, again 7%. Rental income has dropped from 85 to 48 due to the reduced availability of facilities to rent out. Staff is juggling to keep those groups accommodated and have enough field space for the rec programs. It is a scheduling challenge and often a full-time job. The board has requested the staff to bring back options in raising rates and reducing field availability to close the gap of field demand and cost recovery. I will be meeting with staff next week to go over more options. We will discuss those at our next meeting. I just have a personal comment. In my view, I think the board probably has spent quite a bit of time on this. I mean, I've got reams of paper I could back all this up with. Be happy to show it to you and meet with you individually to go over it. But if you feel you'd like us to continue providing recommendations, we can, or you can go with the information you have and make your own decisions down the road. Whatever you suggest is what we'll be happy to accommodate. So it's my report.
Questions, comments?
The information that you went over tonight, can you send that to all of us?
Sure can.
As well? And,
Yeah.
you know, from my perspective, I appreciate the recommendations, especially when there's that much effort that's put behind them, and there's a lot of numbers to support the recommendations,
Sure.
or at least warrant serious and additional discussion moving forward. It's not like there's not some issues, and I think you guys have done a good job collectively uncovering some issues that we can actually see numbers and put our finger on it and go, okay, this is what's going on, and this is real, and we need to decide how to move forward from there. So yeah, I would appreciate if you can send us that information you reviewed tonight so that we have that and can digest that a little bit more.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think we all agree. I mean, I coached competitive ball in the city of Port Orange for 12 years. I know this program inside and out. I did it. I was a participant of exactly what these 7 groups are doing here in Port Orange. I had the privilege to do that with the city's help. I definitely think we need to support these groups in some way. There's no question about it. But I think at the same time, each group needs to be accountable, you know, for their own program sustainability. Some of the groups, just for example, are generating $200,000 in revenue. We're getting $4,000. They couldn't do it without us. So I know when I did it back in the day, we were the Port Orange Blazers. And if I had a tournament Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we gave the city $2,000 just for that tournament. We generated $5,000. We walked away with $3,000, but we had a nice tournament. So there's ways to generate additional income to take care of their responsibility here, to get to at least where I think the rec program is. And that would be, our public rate right now is $25 an hour. If you want to rent the field, it's 25 bucks. If they were paying $25, their rates would almost quadruple based on the number of hours they're using. So I know that's a stretch, and I'm not recommending that. What I am recommending is a graduated increase to get to that. I don't know what the board will decide. I don't want you to have all the facts, but I think we need to kind of work our way toward that. What we've asked staff to do at our last meeting was to come up with a 15% increase, a 20% increase, maybe every 6 months, kind of up that until we get there. Right now, I don't know what the actual, I haven't done the calculation, but it'd be easy to do. Try to figure out what they're paying hourly, because some are using 1,000 hours, some are using 300 hours. So the 1,000 hours for $4,000 is a lot cheaper, you know, per hour than the guy using, or the team using 300 hours. So we can calculate all that, but I think when we get down to it, if we get to the $25 an hour, which seems to be a reasonable number, that would be a 33% cost recovery. If we get to that number, then if the group cannot afford it, they just cut back their hours, which allows the city then to have more field availability, rest the fields, or rent them out to someone else. So and I think that's a very fair and reasonable way to do it. But it's something that needs to be addressed. I don't want to see our rec programs cut. I don't want to see these teams go away. So I don't want to throw a big lump at them in terms of a cost. But at the same time, I think we need to kind of start working our way there so that it's sustainable for them and practical for the
Jack,
city.
on that point, do you have any idea if regionally around this part of the state, how that recommendation would stack up with what other communities
do.
are doing. I'm just kind of curious.
I do, because I go around the state, soccer and baseball.
I had no idea you were still playing.
I have yet.
Yeah.
I have yet to watch. I have yet to watch either one of my kids play a game for less than $10 a day.
Right.
So they charge entry fees.
Right.
So you know, every time we have a tournament here, you know, the collection plate doesn't go around.
Right.
Because they've already paid. Every
Yeah.
time I go to New Smyrna, the collection plate goes around, and then you roll in and you pay $10 a head or 15 for a weekend.
Mhm.
You know, and you know my family, we're in for $45 just to watch Reed play. Soccer, sometimes you pay, sometimes you don't. Depends on where you are. But we're in Sanford this weekend, and it cost me, I think, $22.50 to watch a weekend worth of ball.
And that's about right, because I think back quite a few years ago, it was $10 to get in.
Yeah.
I mean, so that number hasn't changed.
Yeah.
But what the cities are doing is different. Some cities won't allow them to play because of this reason.
At all?
All these reasons, no, they won't take them. Ormond Beach is a privately parent-run organization, so
Right.
they have their own programs. DeLand, for example, is, because I called all the cities, because I wanted to see, you know, what everybody else is doing. I mean, I think it's only fair. I mean, not we're going to set our program based on them,
No,
but
but it's good to know.
I thought it was fair to know.
Well, it's good to have the information, for
Sure.
sure.
They support Little League,
Yeah.
and they support Pop Warner. That's the two things they support. Beyond that, nothing else. Everything else is $25 an hour with a $30 staff person sitting there.
Yeah.
So if you rent the fields for 5 hours, you're going to pay $25 an hour, and you're going to pay $30 an hour for the 5 hours that staff person is sitting
Gotcha.
there. So basically, it's $55 an hour.
Mhm.
We just let you know.
Is that each staff person, or is that for the
One
staff for the
one
event?
staff person to watch the fields.
Perfect.
So if they're
okay.
using 2 fields, it'd be 1 staff person.
Okay.
But if they're using 1 field, then it's
It's still
$30.
one.
Yeah,
I
they don't
got
let
you.
anybody go in the fields that is not, from what, I've got his name written down. I think he's assistant director. They don't let anybody on the fields other than them being.
Paid
them-
customers.
Yeah, paid customers and them
Can't-
being monitored.
Can't do a pickup game
Right.
anymore.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, this is, you know, it's a tough one because we're talking about children, you know, and,
Yeah.
and adults and all that. And I know we get a lot of folks in that, you know, want more and more and more, but I mean, you gotta realize, we kinda caused this problem ourselves. I think maybe Parks and Rec is partially responsible. I'll take responsibility for it. Because when we first brought on a couple groups, it wasn't such a big deal, right? But now it's grown, and we've
Yeah.
added, and we've added, and we've added, and now it's to the point where it's a
And-
white elephant, in the, no, it's no longer a white elephant, but it's an elephant in the room.
And they're
We-
not all the same either.
No, they're not.
You know,
And, yeah.
some of them are terrific partners, and some of them are okay.
Right.
It's across the board, you know, and they vary in size. They vary, you know, there's so
Well-
much variance. It's
And then we don't do Pop Warner. So, I mean, maybe that's one you support more. We don't offer that program, right? We offer baseball, we offer softball, we offer, you know, tennis and all these other ones, but we don't offer football. We're not gonna offer a football program. So that's one you might support a little bit more than you would the others.
In your breakdown there, do you have if the $337,000 in cost, and then we're recuperating 24,000 and whatever?
Yeah.
Do you have a breakdown of what each individual? There's 7
Oh,
groups.
I got
that-
reports.
Okay, so
maybe
we'll be
that's
able to
when-
see the breakdown for each
Drew,
group.
look at that file, man. Look at that file.
Okay, I just want to make
Come
sure,
on, you know
so
he's
when
got
we're
it.
reviewing that, I can look for it, but.
Absolutely. What I'll do is I'll try
Clearly,
to-
we have to make some sort of adjustment somewhere,
Yeah.
because 7% recovery at 25,000
And
versus 337,000.
We can't really come out, unless we're trying to run these teams off, you can't really come out and ask them to step up to that degree, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
It would be a challenge in all honesty, but at the same time, and we need to take a giant step forward, and then we need to start
Yeah.
graduating and getting there, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's my opinion.
Well, then
The board's gonna have its own opinion. Some people disagree with raising any rate,
Yeah.
but they're
And-
part of the program too.
And if some of the members, or some of the groups cut back their time, and then we were able to rent the fields out, we'd still have the problem of the maintenance, trying to get them reseeded and rested and done, because if the rental usage increases, then you still have to find time to take care of the fields.
That's right.
So, yeah, so.
But at the
it's
same
definitely
time, you're
probably-
generating more money to do that.
Correct, yeah.
See, what-
That-
if
that
you're
would be
generating
the-
more
That would be
revenue,
the plus, for sure.
You're generating more revenue. I mean, at some point, with the rental revenue and the partners, all that coming in, I mean, we'd probably be more prone to build another field, another complex. But right now, at the return of 7%
Yeah.
of your cost,
Mhm.
why build another field when you can just cut them back? You've got plenty of fields.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
And you were saying the recommendations is 33?
33% will get you, $25 will get you about 33% recovery.
Okay.
Yeah. And rec is 30. That's what
Okay.
you guys task Parks and Rec with recovery.
30%, okay, very good.
Appreciate you, Jack.
Thank
So
you.
let me, I just want to add on this, because I've looked at this as well, and I frankly, I've never been a fan of partnerships with cities. I've coached competitive sports for a number of years here and up in Atlanta, and I've traveled all across the country. I've never seen the setup that we have here. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist out there, 'cause clearly we have it here. It's the, and let me point out as well that my daughter plays with the Panthers, which is a partner thing. So naturally, from an emotional side,
Mhm.
I'd want to keep it the way it
It
is.
is emotional, yeah.
But taking the emotions out and looking from here, when you're looking at a 7% cost recovery versus 30% from Parks and Rec, we're subsidizing private companies a lot more than we are our own Parks and Rec children. That to me is something we definitely need to look at. Wouldn't be interested in doing it right away, because clearly you'd fade some teams out that way, and I wouldn't be interested in doing that either.
Then you get nothing at all.
And I'm not looking, and I don't care how the formula is, and you made a good point by, you don't have to treat everybody the same, you got, again, we don't offer football.
Right.
Pop Warner I can do a lot more with.
Yeah.
And the amount of funding that some of these other teams, the Panthers have brought in a significant amount, I'm willing to look at that as well. But when I look at some of these teams that are bringing in some cash, let me tell you something, there's a lot of money to be made in these competitive programs, a lot of money. So it wouldn't be that we would be pricing them out. It'd be the organizations are gonna decide, are they gonna eat that money at the top, or are they gonna pass it on to the families? That's the reality of what it is.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So what I'll do, if it's okay with council, I'll send you all these reports. It might be as late as Monday next week.
That's fine.
Because I'm gonna be out of the office for a couple of days, but I'll get back and put them all
It may
together.
be a little while with the holiday anyway before we have a
Yeah.
chance to absorb all of that anyway, so
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
no rush.
Maybe, all right.
no rush on you.
And then our board meeting, we're gonna discuss again, but that won't be until January, so probably, I would say after our January meeting with the recommendations coming back from staff, then you having this information, able to digest it, maybe we make some decisions in February, March. That sound reasonable?
Sounds good.
Okay. Thanks,
Appreciate it, Jack.
Thanks, Jack.
Thank you. Have a Thanksgiving.
Have a good Thanksgiving.
Jack,
too.
can you send me whatever you send council?
Yes.
Just CC me.
Me too,
Thanks,
please.
appreciate it.
Anybody else?
Hey, Robin gets it, you can get it from her,
Always.
there you go. That brings us to my apologies, items 12 and 13. Council, if it's your pleasure, we can do this together.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
because that's
They're
fine.
interrelated, so let me read into the record. First reading of ordinance number 2018-30, small scale future land use amendment for 1389 Reed Canal Road. Ordinance number 2018-30 is an ordinance of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, relating to comprehensive planning, amending the future land use map of the comprehensive plan, amending the future land use designation for plus or minus 9.91 acres from Volusia County urban low density 0.2 to 4 units per acre to the City of Port Orange urban medium density 48 units per acre, providing for conflicting ordinances, severability, and an effective date.
Move to approve ordinance number 2018-30.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and let me go ahead and read the next one in. Skip to that. Which is ordinance number 2018-31, PUD rezoning and Newport Master Development Agreement and Conceptual Development Plan. Ordinance number 2018-31 is an ordinance of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, rezoning property consisting of approximately plus or minus 29.7 acres, generally located on the south side of Reed Canal Road, between Clyde Morris Boulevard and Atlantic High School, from the City of Port Orange planned commercial development and Volusia County Rural Agricultural A-2 to planned unit development and approving a master development agreement and conceptual development plan for the Newport Apartments, PUD, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Move to approve ordinance number 2018-31.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Both items are on the floor.
Penelope Cruz, planner. Well, Mr. Mayor, you did all the hard work reading all that, so what you said.
Can you explain what you just read?
Yeah. So as you can see on the screen here, the small-scale future land use amendment is this area here in blue. It's the parcel that was recently annexed into the city of Port Orange, so the next step is applying a city land use, so going from Volusia County urban low density to the city of Port Orange urban medium density, with the ultimate intent of incorporating this parcel into this overall 29.7 acre site, with the intent of developing it as an apartment complex. The future land use amendment went through the full intensity standards and review for theoretical max impacts of this future land use amendment, and it's been found to be compatible with adjacent parcels, and all public facilities have adequate capacity for this amendment. And the next item, which is item 13 on your agenda, is the PUD rezoning. So the applicant is proposing to rezone the overall site, 29.7 acres, to PUD, and approval of the Newport Apartments MDA and conceptual development plan. The master development agreement sets up the regulatory framework for the development of a 310 unit multifamily development, including the associated site improvements. This is kind of just the concept plan for the overall area. This particular PUD is not requesting any deviations from the land development code, so it is following all the city standard land development code regulations. The main point of how doing the PUD is to just be able to have the flexibility of how to spread that density around the overall site. The property is going to be accessed from gated entrances off Reed Canal, gated access to Clyde Morris through the adjacent commercial development, and an emergency only access off Rachel Drive. They're also proposing a new 5-foot wide sidewalk along Rachel Drive here, and there'll be sidewalks throughout the development connecting to the existing sidewalks on Reed Canal as well.
Okay.
And with all development, this will go through the full concurrency review once the site plan is approved. So, with that, staff is here to answer any questions you may have. The applicant's here as well.
Any questions of staff?
I'm happy to see something looking good over there. Like the idea of a sidewalk going down
To the
that
soccer
side of Reed
fields.
Canal.
Honestly, I tell you what, just along that line, I think it was into the early 90s, part of that parcel, the part that we annexed in, the reason why we didn't want it, it was in the county, was because for the longest time that was a construction dump site.
Yeah.
And the fact that whoever takes this over is going to have to mitigate the environmental impact of that, I take some comfort in that. Otherwise, it just sits there.
Yep.
And if you can take it from what it was to something beautiful, that's an extreme difference.
It burned for a number of years, if you remember.
Yeah,
On and
no
off.
more tire fires now.
Oh, that's
So
right.
the chief will appreciate that. There used to be the tires there. They had those tires stored there.
I remember that.
Although that grassy area right after Dunlop was a great sign placement during the campaign.
Yeah.
I'm gonna lose that spot, but.
Not a worry of you for at least 4 years there. Any other questions of Penelope?
Good.
Would the property owner and representation like to speak to us or try to talk us out of it? Or at least make it seem like you've earned your keep for the evening?
That's going to be
Cut
hard to
his
do.
billable hours
Jeff
down.
Brock, 444 Seabreeze Boulevard, Suite 900, Daytona Beach, Florida, 32118, attorney for the applicant. We were before you a couple of months ago having this property annexed in, and we had the discussion about the fires and the environmental concerns of that property. We'll be working with the Florida Department of Environmental Protection for a rehabilitation plan for that site. We might be coming back before you to ask that site be designated as a Brownsfield area to give us the ability maybe for some tax incentives for our cleanup costs. So the other parcel is already a designated Brownsfield area, but since this was in the county, it hasn't. So we might be back before you for that. But we're here to answer any questions you might have. I have a representative of the developer and also the civil engineer with me today.
Questions?
I have no questions. I'm happy to see something going in there.
Reed?
Yeah, that'd be my comment. I mean, we knew something was gonna come eventually, and so now we'll have somebody responsible, taking care of the property and mitigating it. I think it's a win-win.
Jeff, I couldn't get you past that magic 6-minute mark, but
slower.
Yeah. I appreciate you.
How wide are these, I'm sorry, how wide are these sidewalks gonna be? Is it just standard one? Bike path
Yeah,
at all?
5 feet.
Yeah, normal.
Any chance of widening them? A
Yeah,
lot of
there's
kids
not-
ride bikes from school there, just a thought. That's it.
And if, just keeping in mind also, this is only first reading.
Yeah.
So
They got
he's,
you.
he's
And we'll
gotta
be
come
back with the full site plan
Yeah.
after this is more zoning related. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Nope.
There being none?
Not for now.
Anyone from the public like to speak to this? Come on, Robert. Did I look right at you?
You did. Mayor, council members, Robert Reinigen, 1425 Dexter Drive, Port Orange. I was looking at the thing, and page 5 of the staff report is entitled Tree Preservation, Landscaping, and Wetlands. And if you read the paragraph, it never talks about wetlands. And that's my concern, is that I would like to see some sort of a elevation map, so you know where the wetlands are, where the higher areas are, so you can have a better feel for where they're going to have to fill and where they're not. And I get very concerned to see this great big retention pond rather than wetland. So that's my comment.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And I know we'll see more details when we see the site plan as well. Anyone else like to speak to this? Back to us. Any other comments? If not, call the roll.
Councilman Ford.
Yes.
Councilman Tremont.
Yes.
Councilman Bastian.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stiltner.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes,
And
5-0.
And that was on ordinance 2000.
That was item, that was the first reading of ordinance 2830. Call the roll on, wait a second. Any other comments on items, on ordinance 2018-31? There being none, now call the roll on that one.
Councilman Ford.
Yes.
Councilman Tremont.
Yes.
Councilman Bastian.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stiltner.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, 5-0. How'd I know the vote was probably gonna turn out the same way? Thank you, Jeff. Brings us item 14, first reading of ordinance number 2018-32, which is an ordinance of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 10, Section 10-20, establishing a permanent urban chicken program, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. May I have a motion for approval?
Move to approve?
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second, the item's on the floor. Hey, welcome back.
Hey, Penelope Cruz, planner. So in October, we are here before you discussing the status of the temporary pilot program, and council directed staff to bring it back as a permanent program. So that's what you have before you today. As directed, it's following the same requirements and regulations of the pilot program. It's just been converted into permanent regulations. So if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them. We have scheduled, there was a typo on the agenda item. The second reading is going to be scheduled for January 22nd in order to provide that time to meet with the HOAs as directed.
That was going to be my question, if that has been done yet.
All the same caps in the program?
Yeah, everything's the same. 5 chickens, hens, no more than 30 households citywide. Same, setback requirements. It's got to be single family, owner occupied property. So same regulations as before, screening.
Just permanent.
How many, we've got what?
5.
Five.
Nothing's changed. Yeah.
So there's a lot of room for people to do it if they choose to. We have
25 more permits
yeah.
available.
So,
Questions
Okay.
of staff? Would anybody else care to speak to this evening?
I just want to comment, Mayor, that I appreciate Penelope's comment about the HOAs. I think that's very important to make sure we get that done and that there's plenty of time in that. And speaking with one of the HOA presidents of one of our largest HOAs, he enlightened me that one of the challenges for the HOAs uniquely is that these types of things that need to be added or not, if they choose to their charters for their HOAs, it doesn't work exactly the same way as it does for the council. And his concern is the amount of time that it would take for some of these HOAs that don't already have something in place, if they would like to have something different, that's a pretty overwhelming task. And I was kind of surprised by that. I didn't realize that actually. So, like in some communities, for example, you know, you might have 500 homeowners. In order for them to make a change or enact something into, you know, their rules and regulations, they've got to get 60% to come to cast a vote.
Two-thirds. Actually,
yeah, I mean, and he's like,
and that's, but that's for every issue.
Sure.
Every issue. And there's HOAs that come here every month and have not had, they can't even do elections.
Right.
Because they don't have 2/3.
Well, but that was
So
my
they haven't
point,
gotten
because
anything done.
early on in this discussion, we had noted that, you know, if HOAs wanted to prohibit something like this, because I still believe that this is not a good program for all communities.
We said that 2 years ago. When we
That's
did the
right.
pilot.
That's exactly right. And so it is not as easy for any of us to sit up here. We shouldn't be thinking that it's as easy for that to occur with these HOAs. It is not. So just keep that in mind. But I do appreciate the efforts to make sure that they're all at least given the due heads up.
So if
Only 30
they, you know, if they
in
care
60,000.
that much, maybe they'll get 2/3.
Well, the problem
You know what I
is
mean?
a lot of them only meet quarterly. Some of them meet once a year. And so you're talking about a process of time and money for them to try to take something, if they see this as saying, this does not fit our community, we need.
But that's a choice, and quite frankly.
I don't disagree, I'm just saying the process is not as
Sure.
easy as we meet
No,
every
it's
other
not easy.
Tuesday night.
Yeah.
That's
But-
not the case with an HOA.
I'm willing to, we want to table a vote to give.
No, I'm not suggesting that,
No,
we've
because
got
it could
time.
take years,
Yeah, we've got
No,
time.
well, this is only first reading. Second reading isn't gonna be for 2 more months.
And to be fair, they've had 35 years to decide what they wanted, a lot of them.
And we've
In
had a
other words-
temporary program for 2 years.
Most of the HOAs that are restricted have already restricted most everything. And also do not meet the criteria. A lot of their homes do not meet the criteria in terms of land ownership. So I think a lot of it's already been handled. I'll agree with Scott, there may be a few out there
Yeah.
that are not prepared, but I think most of them have done a pretty good job initially in putting very varied variances into their
It's the-
originating documents.
And I agree with you, Bob. I think, I guess it's not that great of a reservation, but my concern is that a lot of HOAs look at what the ordinances the cities have when they draft their original documents. And there's that'll never happen factor in some of those cases.
Right.
And so, here you go. That'll never happen. Well, hang on a second, because it may here in just a couple more weeks.
Yeah, there's things that we haven't even
That's
thought
right.
about yet that they're not gonna want.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So that's all. I just want to make sure that the HOAs are well informed
Yeah,
and
they
that
will.
whatever opportunities they do have, they can pursue them if they choose, and if
Yep.
not, that's fine as well. So.
Okay. With that being said, anybody else from the public like to speak to this? There being none, call the roll.
Councilman Ford.
Yes.
Councilman Tremont.
Yes.
Councilman Bastian.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stiltner.
No.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes. Gee, how'd I guess?
I already wrote
4-1.
that.
Like consistency.
Brings us to resolution number 18-53. Your recommended motion is to approve the said resolution.
Move to approve resolution number 18-53.
We have a motion, we have a second. It seems like the Tracy Ream show has just begun.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tracy Ream, Finance Director. This is the time of the year when we bring this 3 resolutions before you. The first of which is the final budget resolution for fiscal 18. State law requires that this be done within 60 days of the end of the year. And so basically this is just like other budget resolutions that would come to you, so we're making sure that we're not going to exceed any budget authority when we get our books entirely finalized. The bottom line is this has some revenue we received in the recreation and impact fees and the water sewer, and since we charge a 2% administration fee, of course, we don't budget for it because we don't know how much it's going to be until we get the money in. And finally, we have a little bit of property forfeitures that we received, and you see it in the 608 fund and then transferring over to 607.
Very good.
Any questions?
Nope.
Do me a favor, back up for just a second. I asked for a motion and a second for the resolution, but I didn't actually read the resolution. So let me read that into the record, and then I will ask you to reaffirm your motion, your second. Resolution, the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, appropriating operating and capital funds for various city operations and for fiscal year 2018, setting forth revenues and expenditures and providing an effective date. Do you affirm your positive motion?
I do.
Do you affirm your second?
I do.
Okay. Sorry about that.
That's all right, I was gonna-
I'm kind of surprised Robin didn't give me the
I was
stink
gonna
eye
stop
sooner,
you.
but. Council questions for,
No,
Nope. This one, I was gonna say of the three, this is probably the easiest of the one. Anyone else here like to speak to this? There being none, call the roll.
Councilman Ford.
Yes.
Councilman Tremont.
Yes.
Councilman Bastian.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Steltner.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes. 5-0. Don't go away, because we have resolution number 18-54, which is a resolution of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, appropriating funds for a project carryover and open encumbrance carryover funds from fiscal year 2018 to fiscal year 2019 budget, setting forth revenues and expenditures and providing for an effective date.
Move to approve resolution number 18-54.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. The show continues.
Okay. This is, of course, the largest resolution before you. This is moving projects and encumbrances from fiscal 18 into 19. It amounts to $28,970,000, and that compares to a last year figure of $29,735, or about 3% less. These are all higher because of the hurricanes that we've encountered. Noteworthy in this particular resolution is a larger reduction in Hurricane Irma, because we're only carrying forward $250,000 because the vast majority of our expenses are in and paid. That's going to help the cash position of the council, but it will not quite dig us out of the hole, because we'll be
Sort of showing that mighty big number in accounts payable, accounts receivable.
It's been showing a big number that we were trying to get up to the reserve requirement the council has set. So by reducing this encumbrance, it's going to free up some of that money. It's still not going to be able to be moved over to capital projects, because I was looking at it earlier today. I think it's going to be plus minus nothing. We're still waiting for about $2 million from the feds and the state on Hurricane Irma. And when that money starts to roll in, then council can address some of your outstanding priorities. About 96% of this is related to projects, 4% is non-projects, and about 21% is actually encumbered on a PO. The balance is unencumbered, but assigned to a project that has previously come before council.
With $2 million from Irma, we have everything back from Matthew?
We have, I think, a very, very small amount waiting for us to bill that was related to the docks, but it was just a very small amount left to bill. They've processed everything. Irma has nothing's left the feds from Irma, but we're in the same boat as everybody else.
Right.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Nope. No questions, no comments? Any from the public here to speak to this? There being none, call the roll.
Councilman Ford.
Yes.
Councilman Tremont.
Yes.
Councilman Bastian.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Steltner.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, 5-0. Which brings us to resolution number 18-55. The resolution of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, appropriating additional project carryover funds from fiscal year 2018 to fiscal year 2019 budget, setting forth revenues and expenditures and providing for an effective date. That's the shortest one I've had to read all day.
Move to approve resolution number 18-55.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Okay. This resolution totals $118,355. It would otherwise come to you, if it did not roll forward, it would come to you on a future budget resolution for asking basically for equity. It includes $41,000 from the City Attorney's Office, $37,000 in CDBG funds, and $40,000 in the 505 Lease and Replacement Fund. So there's supporting documentation on each one of these. I can answer your questions if you like.
Remarkably, it seems like the city attorney's office had the most documentation in here. Just saying. Questions or comments, council? Nope. Would anyone else care to speak to this one? There being none, call the roll.
Councilman Ford.
Yes.
Councilman Tremont.
Yes.
Councilman Bastian.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Steltner.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. City attorney comments.
No comments this evening.
Thank you. City manager comments.
Yes, sir. Before you in the summary is my request to moonlight in accordance with my contract. I've had a few opportunities that I've passed on, and I'd like to start taking advantage of some of those opportunities for leadership, organizational improvement, and motivational speaking. Not to interfere with my job, and I will report to the mayor or council via the weekly or via email or however you'd like when I am going, where I'm going, and for how long I'm going. And for you all to say no, I won't sign any contracts until we chat.
Questions? Comments? So basically you're saying that you're a commodity to be valued now?
Let's not get carried away.
Okay.
I mean, you've got my support, don't get me wrong.
I'm just saying,
Are you more or less
with the
than
rash of
25
city managers that have been fired lately, I thought maybe I'd start.
You're not going anywhere.
You know,
The name of our city does not start with an E.
Oh, good.
Are you more or less than a $25 an hour field usage thing kind of?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, good.
And you've got a couple of agreements.
I made sure my hourly rate is not more moonlighting than it is city managing, so I can.
There you go.
By the way, Port Orange has traditionally been pretty liberal about this.
Yeah.
I know department heads have been allowed to do it. There's been quite a few of our staff have been permitted. And it's a good thing because it gives your community a good reputation, as long as, again, it's done with balance and that, you know, the city manager is available when he is needed.
Yeah.
I agree, and I also think it provides a lot of opportunities for great contacts as well as an opportunity to look for talent.
Absolutely.
For sure.
You
There's no
bet.
question. I mean, even in the ranks well below the city manager's pay grade, we have a lot of city staff and supervisors throughout a lot of the organizations that teach at local colleges as adjuncts and things like that. And, I can tell you, having done that in the past, there's been good value to the city for sure in that. So
It certainly has anything it can do to enhance our reputation, which it does in general. I like it.
I think Jake will bring great honor to the city as he goes around.
What else you got, Jake?
That's pretty much it. There's been you're all aware of some of the citizens that have been reaching out to. At least I know 2 or 3 council members were addressing everything that you all have brought to my attention the past 2 or 3 days, and so we'll get to resolution with most of them and let you know how we come how we came to that resolution. You might see these folks at council meetings later on, but we're working through the issues right now.
Okay.
That's all I have.
City Council Committee reports. Art House.
Art House, we have an opening reception starting Thursday, November 15th, from 5 to 7 at the Art House Gallery.
This Thursday.
There'll be light refreshments and really some wonderful art. It will not only involve the youth, but it will also involve displays of art from the Halifax Art Festival and over 50 art house selections. I urge any of you, if you ever get an opportunity, do go to it. I've been going to them regularly now, and I've really, quality of my life has improved as I see how impressive these young people are and what they do. The art is unbelievable. So I urge you, it'll be available from November 15th through December 19th. And again, that's right on Ridgewood there at our Art House Gallery.
Okay. And does everybody here know that Lori Ring is planning on retiring?
Yes.
First step?
Just briefly, our next meeting's in 2 weeks. We're still going over the construction of the actual building, of course. A lot of fireworks over the past few months, as you've seen in the papers regarding the change in costs. But one of the latest is the value engineering idea of cutting costs from construction and passing it on the first step. And we're certainly, as a board, giving a lot of pushback for that. We feel that we should have a constructed kitchen before we take over. So we're doing what we need to do on our end to make sure it's turnkey ready. But obviously, at the end of the day, it's up to the city of Daytona. So you know, we're expecting them to do the right thing.
Okay.
So I'll have more next time.
Port Orange South Daytona Chamber of Commerce. The after hours is also this Thursday from 5 to 7 at the new Realty Pros office on Dunlawton. They've moved into bigger space, and they're going to be doing a ribbon cutting, and then of course followed by the after hours. Jake and I also had a conversation with representatives from the chamber a couple of weeks ago about possibly in the businesses on Ridgewood Avenue in the River District. Let them talk about it and bring it back to us. I'd like to see them form some kind of special membership or some kind of committee where they have they can reach out, maybe even increase their membership roles at the same time, but collectively they can have a voice for the River District as we look to do things down there to redevelop. And the chamber was very receptive to that, and I think that they'll be working on that for us as well. Roundtable of elected officials usually meets this week on the second Monday, but because last week was elections, they pushed it back another week, so we will be meeting next week. So when we meet in December, I'll be able to give you an update on that. Anything else come before us this evening?
Tim, who do yeah, real quick on your chamber, Clayton, right? Clayton Park. We met with Clayton Park from the News Journal as well to try to get him to work up a story on District 1. So he's getting a bunch of information from the city and the chamber, and we'll see how that goes. But we met with him for about an hour and a half.
You can
last
say
Tuesday.
what you want about the different writers from the News Journal, but he is an excellent business reporter, and I look forward to seeing what he comes up with.
He asked a lot of great historical questions to try to build the story, so we look forward to seeing what he might be able to provide.
By the way, on that issue of US 1 corridor, there will be a meeting tomorrow night at 5 o'clock at the Piggott Center. And that is the continuing discussion of the walk. That is going to be a continuing discussion of the walk that is being proposed by FDOT along Halifax Drive,
the trail.
The urban trail we're talking about. So that'll be another meeting tomorrow night at 5 o'clock at the Piggott Center. If you want to go see what they're talking about, they'll have all the displays there, and they'll have people there available for briefings.
We have invited the Academy folks, our alum, to show up and take a look at the trail and support our suggestions.
And that same meeting is held again
Brandon Center
Thursday
on the 15th.
night, on the 15th, right?
Yeah, there'll be 2 of them.
So there'll be 2 locations people can attend.
Couple scheduling notes. We are not meeting again till December 4th. December 1st is our Christmas in the park. That evening, that Saturday night, 6 o'clock, culminated with the tree lighting ceremony. December 2nd is our Christmas parade, that Sunday at 2 o'clock. So we have those to look forward to. Of course, before that, we have Thanksgiving with our families. Certainly want to wish everyone the very best, and we take a look at what we have in this community. We have more than ample things to be thankful for, and starting with me saying that I am thankful for each and every one of you. When we get back together again on December 4th, I would invite everybody, if you can't be here, tune in. It's a special night in the city of Port Orange. 3 of our elected officials have been re-elected. 2 of them without opposition, and then 1 of them via election. So Scott Stiltner, Bob Ford, and Chase Tremont will be sworn in for new terms on that evening, and that's how we'll start. And I look forward to that, and I look forward to the promise of the future. Gentlemen, I've enjoyed serving with you, and I look forward to doing it into the future and into 2019 as well. Anything else come for us this evening?
No, I'm good.
With that, have a good night. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Good night.